to have a quick conversation with my friend Brian Solis. So Brian, who the heck are you, and why do you feel that you have even the power? 4 o'clock on the afternoon before my event, and think that I would let you come in?
Because Liz is a really near and dear friend to me, and for years I have threatened to come and have never been able to make the time. So I felt that here was an opportunity where I would be in town during her event, and I asked nicely if I could stop by and pay my respects to both Liz and Terry, as well as to you, by coming by and sharing parts of me that you might not necessarily know, and as it relates to the event, but more importantly, just an opportunity to, come out of the cave and away from the computer and actually talk to human beings.
So Brian, I want to know what's the biggest myth about Brian Solis, the man behind the book Engage and the end of business as usual.
The biggest myth is that I actually have a ghostwriter. Because I insist on churning content at least 3 to 5 times a week, plus writing, plus researching, plus working with clients on advisory to sort their way through this mess. But it's, look, I'll tell you the truth, is the other myth is that I know everything. And I have a motto, and that motto is that I am forever a student. It's impossible to master anything that's evolving so quickly. And it's impossible to master things that are evolving so quickly when we don't necessarily understand its impact. So I believe that by learning and also by researching and writing all I can, and then thinking through not just what is happening, but what it means, that I can stay at least informed.
So the first time I ever saw Brian Solis's name, and I think we figured it out that it was like November 2006 that you wrote that?
I think it was about that, right?
He was making an analysis about Delicious, and you may have seen it on his blog, something called Bubblicious, which was a company of his. And it was such an intelligent conversation about why his own company didn't work. And I didn't know who this guy was, but I knew I liked the way he thought. And I still remember it. And I'd like you to tell them about Bubblicious.
Well, for those who are truly geeks, you'll remember that the original Delicious was .us. And Bubblicious was a blog, a company that I started at the rise of Web 2.0 around 2005 to document sort of all of these startups. This is big blogs around the startup days. It was meant to capture what I called then the social economy. It was pretty magnificent in San Francisco. I mean, we're talking about coming out of almost a decade of depression not a decade, but like 6 years of depression, where entrepreneurs weren't sure what the future of the internet were, but a lot of people were coding, a lot of people were building, and just almost overnight, we started to see events like meetups and entrepreneurs get together to talk about what they were working on. And at one point, there would be 5 to 8 events in an evening every night in San Francisco. So I thought, wow, well, somebody should document this. And it was actually the beginning of many things. Bubblicious was started to cover this social economy, as I called it. It's also the beginning of a lot of the photography that I learned in order to capture those moments, because the cameras that I was using, point and shoots, just wasn't capturing the true perspective, the true spirit of what was going on. I mean, you have here everybody from a younger Mark Zuckerberg to you name that entrepreneur, and all of those pictures from that time I have in this wonderful library. But I was also blogging at briansolis.com. And I had to make a decision about which business I was going to put all of my intellectual property behind. So I invested everything I had into briansolis.com and just thought Bubblicious would die. So all of this sponsor revenue, all of the event revenue slowly dried up. But the most interesting thing is that the blog refused to die. The traffic was Still pretty solid. I mean, solid enough for something when you have to type bub.blicio.us as the address. And so here we are, 2012, and I just hired an editor-in-chief to take it over and bring it back to life.
Awesome. So now we know you have to go, but before you go, I'm going to let Angel ask you one question to segue us into the next interview.
So the one thing that I always get frustrated with coming from the marketing world of things is what I refer to as the warm and fuzzy metrics of social media. And the one thing that I've always enjoyed about your writing is the fact that you're not afraid of numbers and graphs and providing those things to the audience. Even though I'm sure that somebody at some point consulted you and said, Brian, your audience is not going to understand these things. You need to dumb it down for them. What has been your experience with the audience absorbing those things? And, has somebody counseled you in dumbing it down? Because I've got a side bet on this.
All right, so I'm going to, because this is SOBCon, you get the honest answer. I have been told, ever since the beginning of blogging, that my posts need to be 500, 600 words, that I needed to dumb it down, that I needed to write headlines that say the top 10 ways to do this, the top 5 things to think about in this regard. In fact, I was blogging for some of the biggest blogs in the world, and they insisted that I try to conform my writing to that. And so I quit. I quit blogging for any blog that wouldn't take me for who I am and what I have to say, because there is an audience for substance. Might not have 2 million views, but you know what? Look, here's the truth. I don't need anybody to fucking dumb down anything for me. So why would I do that for you? These are transformative times. These are times where we actually need more knowledge and more substance, where we need to understand how to convert numbers into opportunities, where we can't speak the language of bullshit. We actually have to speak the language of change. And if I can do that, it's going to take 1,500 words. It's going to take 2,000 words. It's going to take numbers. It's going to take wrapping your brain around something. And you know what? If my audience is limited because of it, then so be it. If I never sell a best-selling book, then so be it. But thankfully, here we are. I've been at this. I started a company around social media in 1999, so I've been at this for a really long time. It's not an overnight success at all, but when you're persistent, you can outlast resistance. And if you believe in something and you have conviction and you believe that you're doing the hard work so that you can translate that hard work into opportunities for other people, then it will find its audience.
Amen.
And before I go, I brought all the books I could carry, and it's not a lot, but there's a few here and there's a few in the room out there. Thank you so much for your time, everybody.